How's it going, everybody? Got for you guys today the second upload of today, and if you missed the first upload, a link to that will be down in the description, or there should be an annotation on your screen, so make sure to go check that out and come back to this one. Now, yes, this is not a live narrated showdown battle, but trust me guys, this was one hell of a battle, and some of you guys might actually remember this like little team preview. It's the battle that I didn't get to record with my Alligator team, and this is against Montsegur. I think he's a driver or a mod in the NU room, or one of those two, but this actually did really turn out to be a really good battle, and in my opinion one of the best battles I've had so far this gen. But yeah, definitely make sure to stick around for the whole thing, and if you guys do enjoy these type of narration styles that I did maybe like 2-3 weeks ago, then by all means make sure to hit that like button, guys. The support is very greatly appreciated. Now, looking at team preview, obviously you guys should know this team. If you missed the live battle with this team, I'll leave a link to that down in the description as well, so you can kind of get more have more information about the team. But looking at my opponent's team, the biggest threat I saw going into this battle was honestly going to be that Tauros and that Dragology. Tauros, as you've seen from my videos, is a massive powerhouse and can easily be an amazing wall breaker, especially after stealth rocks are set up, which he most likely has on his Archeops because nothing else on his team learns stealth rocks. Dragology, a very popular set I've been seeing on Dragology as of recently, has been choice specs, and that's something that I actually do want to use myself and upload a live narrated battle with. But with Draco Meteor and Sludge Bomb, Dragology can honestly just 2 KO or dent my entire team, possibly even Oko most things on my team, like Raichu, possibly a Sludge Bomb for Togetic, then Draco Meteor should 2 KO just about everything else, although I'm not too sure about Tauros, but it still does a lot of damage to it. Also, another issue could possibly actually be Pelipper, just because outside of Thunderbolt on my Magmortar and Thunderbolt on my Raichu, I don't exactly have too much to hit it with, so I have to make sure to at least keep one of those two. Hariyama is going to be really annoying because it most likely is going to be a Assault Vest with knockoff, which means I have to be careful how I play around that. Also, Archeops might be a bit of an issue late game if I lose my Alligator, just because I do have the priority Aqua Jet on that. But yeah, going into this battle, the lead I decided to go with was going to be my Raichu, just because I thought that he would end up leading off with his Hariyama. That way I could just scout out for Volt Switch and just hard switch directly into Togetic. But he actually ends up leading off with Dragology. I'm going to go straight for the Volt Switch right on out into my Seismitoad, as he ends up going for the Sludge Bomb. Unfortunately, he ends up getting a crit, and I was kind of skeptical on whether or not this was going to be choice specs or not. But after thinking about it for a while, even though that was a crit, I do still resist it, and he does end up doing too much damage for it to be just like Assault Vest or Modest Max Special Attack. So by now I'm really thinking that he is specs. As I go for the knockoff, as he switches into the Hariyama, I'm going to switch into my own Togetic, expecting him to go for the knockoff, just because Togetic is really only going to be here to just Thunder Wave, Tri Attack, and Defog. Outside of that, it's not going to really be too helpful to me. As I leave in my Togetic thinking that he would actually knock me out, he turns out to have the Iron Head, but I'm able to live and get off the Thunder Wave. Now this Thunder Wave is actually very crucial, because now this allows my entire team to outspeed it, which means if it really comes down to it, my Magmortar could easily come in, outspeed it, and knock it out with the Fire Blast. So the fact that I was able to get off that Thunder Wave on Tauros crippled it, which means it is no longer as big of a threat as it once was at the beginning of the battle. Although I do still have to worry about the Dragology, because as I said, at this point I know that it is choice specs, and with a proper prediction, that thing could run shop through my team. So that's still going to be a big problem. So he's going to bring in the Ground Ball, as I end up just going for the Roost, and I should be able to just stay in and take any one move that he wants to go for. Hopefully he doesn't have Toxic, as he turns out to have a Thunder Wave. Unfortunately, I do end up getting fully paralyzed, but it's fine, seeing as I will be able to easily take the second move that he wants to go for, which is going to be the Play Rough, allowing me to roost back up to a good amount of HP as I switch directly into my Magmortar. I was actually very worried because I thought he might want to go for a double Thunder Wave. Luckily though, he does not do that. As I double switch into my Seismitoad, I thought he would actually bring in the Dragology, but he ends up making the safer play by bringing in the Hariyama. Obviously, I do not want to lose my leftovers just yet, so I'm going to switch back into my Togetic, because honestly, with my Togetic being paralyzed, it's not as helpful as it could be, but it's still going to be nice as a pivot switch in, allow me to safely go for the Tri Attack. Unfortunately, I do not burn, freeze, or paralyze this Dragology. Now this turn right here, to this day I am still frustrated that I made this very stupid obvious play. I knew for a fact, I was 99% positive that he would go for the Draco Meteor, and you know what I did? I was like, no, he's gonna go for the Sludge Bomb. and I made the painfully, stupidly obvious switch into my Seismitoad. And you know what he went for, guys? You know what he went for? The Draco Meteor. I do manage to live though, which is nice, but still, I should have honestly stayed in, because if I had stayed in with my Togetic, I would have been able to go for another Thunder Wave, or I would have been able to go for the Tri-Attack and got off a status on something on his team. But now I'm going to be forced to stay in with my Seismitoad, go for the safe Earthquake as he ends up making the safe switch into the Gramble. I will be able to outspeed him and at least get on my Stealth Rocks, which is going to be really nice to get off a bit of damage on that Pelipper and Archeops mainly, but also the bit of residual damage on his team. As I bring in my Magmortar, I'm not going to play games. I'm going to go straight for the Fire Blast as he brings in the Hariyama. This turns out to be a 2-hit KO. Now, I don't know if he is Guts or Thick Fat, because if he is Thick Fat, Magmortar is a lot more powerful than I thought he was, as he's going to be able to get off a good amount of damage with the Fake Out Bullet Punch combo. He gets a crit with the Bullet Punch, but honestly, that does not end up playing a role whatsoever in this battle, as I'm able to knock him out with the Thunderbolt. He's going to bring in the Dragology. Now, this was back before I had Psychic on my Magmortar, and that's kind of why I added Psychic, just because I did see an increase of Dragology, and I would have been able to leave in Magmortar, gone for the Psychic, and I would have been able to knock out this Dragology. Unfortunately though, I'm going to be forced to switch out as I bring in my Togetic. I was kind of hoping he would go for the Draco Meteor, but honestly he had no reason not to. At that point I was just kind of foddering off Togetic, because it really wasn't going to be too helpful to me now that his Hariyama was gone. As I bring in my Tauros, I'm going to go straight for the Rock Climb. Even if he brings in Archeops, it's still going to do a lot of damage to it, as he ends up bringing in the Pelipper. Now, in one of my videos where I had Tauros, somebody asked me, why do I have Rock Climb in return? It is because situations like this. Now, if I only had Rock Climb, I would have to rely on Rock Climb or Rock Slide hitting, which obviously, when they need to hit, they miss. So I decided to add a Return as a secondary stab option to be able to rely on that when I need something to get knocked out. For example, Return knocks out this Pelipper at the amount of HP that he's at, but if I went for the Rock Climb or Rock Slide and I missed, he most likely wouldn't be able to just easily roost off the damage, gone for the Scald and Burn Me, or gone for the Defog. So I did not want to allow any of that to happen, so I'm going to be able to easily knock him out with the Return, which also means my Stealth Rocks are here to stay, which means that Archeops can kind of be kept in check as long as I just don't allow it to roost or something along those lines. But I have to make sure to still watch out for their Archeops, so I have to at least keep my Raichu or my Feraligatr around to keep it in check, if anything, now that I think about it. But yeah, I'm going to be able to knock out the Pelipper as he ends up bringing in the Gramble. Obviously at -1 I will not be able to do too much damage to this thing, so I'm going to switch into my Raichu expecting him to Thunder Wave, but he makes the excellent play, goes for the Earthquake, easily knocking me out. Now this turn, what I could have done was brought in my Magmortar and just gone straight for the Fire Blast. But if I had done that by bringing in my Magmortar, I bait him to want to bring in the Dragology the following turn, lock himself into Sludge Bomb, which means I would be forced to bring in my Tauros, and he could have easily brought back in the Gramble, intimidated me, and eventually he would have been able to win the battle with just Gramble, because my last two physically offensive Pokemon are Tauros and Feraligatr. But ultimately, after thinking about it, what I decided to do was actually bring in my Feraligatr, because I do have the Lumberry, which means I should be able to easily set up a Swords Dance on this Gramble, even after Thunder Wave. It's not going to be a big issue, and hopefully knock him out with the Waterfall. So at +2 Adamant Max Attack, I just barely failed to knock him out, but he ends up choking, making a misclick, or the Showdown timer didn't fix itself, but he ends up going for the Play Rough as opposed to going for another Thunder Wave, which in the chat he did say he went for the Thunder Wave, but he went for Play Rough, could cancel, then Thunder Wave, I think is what he said. I don't know if he's telling the truth, but I'm not one to judge him. He could be telling the truth, I don't know, I'm not saying that he's not, but unfortunately with him making that misplay by Play Roughing, that is basically going to seal me the victory, just because I will be able to easily knock out this Gramble. I have Return for the Dragology, and because Dragology is extremely slow, I easily outspeed it. I have Aqua Jet for the Archeops, and because that Tauros is paralyzed, I will be able to outspeed it and hit it with the Waterfall. So I knock out the Archeops, in comes his last, which is his Tauros, and because I was able to get that paralysis off, I will be able to knock him out, and that is going to be the victory in my favor. So yeah, that was actually a really really intense battle, and I was really at the edge of my seat the whole time. It was definitely a lot of fun, so hope you guys did enjoy, and if you did, as I said guys, make sure to hit that like button. The support is greatly appreciated, and I really do love all of you guys who do take the time to watch my videos. So thank you for sticking around for this video guys. Make sure to check out my first upload, which as I said, a link to that will be down in the description. With that being said guys, I do still have a bit of a special upload, something I haven't done in a while, that will be going up tomorrow, so be on the lookout for that. And with that being said guys, I'm rambling on, and I'll see you all tomorrow, so later everybody.